So, hello everyone.
Hi,
Welcome to the new day and new vlog. Today we have with us our beloved friend Samuel. How are you doing, Samuel?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing also superb. And if you might have not known, then our machine learning result is also out. So we thought that we'll talk about the machine learning subject overview, insights, and experience. We have talked about the preparation part with Muntasir and also discussed the exam experience. But I think it's also important for the students or the upcoming students who will be taking machine learning next semester. They get to know about the subject overview and from Samuel perspective, if you can share your insights regarding the machine learning subject.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so the machine learning the exam was 2 hours plus exam.
yeah,
We wrote that just last week or
last week.
yeah, last week was on a Friday, I think.
So our exam was on Monday,
On a Monday,
and
yeah.
exact next Monday we got
Yeah,
our result. That
exactly.
was
Yeah, so it
interesting.
took about a week to grade the exam.
Yeah,
So typically, the exam is one of the really tough exams on campus for
yeah,
intelligent system students.
yeah,
Yeah. So a lot of people pass. Also, a lot of people fail. So a lot of people do take the exams.
yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be discussing tips and tricks that you need to know about the exam.
About the exam and also first of all the subject overview, if you can tell how
Yeah.
the people who don't know about machine learning subject, how would you summarize that? Like, how was your
Yeah.
experience with the subject overall through this semester?
It was nice. So it's just basically pattern recognition, or you could just think of it as some kind of maybe in simple cases, think of your linear regression, but
Yeah,
taking it to different complications, like looking at different stuff that could happen in that case. So basically, linear regression is like one simple aspect of ML
yeah.
you can think of. So just take linear regression and scale it up. Then you have the complicated cases of ML.
Correct.
Basically, you have either classification or regression as we know it in class.
Yeah. And also, like one of the point, like you mentioned, linear regression, and we had several lectures, so the topics were divided,
Yeah.
right? And I think one of the point that we noticed that in every lecture, almost one of the topic was getting covered,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it took different amount of time for that topic to be discussed or covered. And also we had these exercise sessions. So with the topic, you get the hands-on practice as well regarding the mathematics. Now, one point here, when someone is planning to take machine learning, right?
Yeah.
As one question might arise is that, do I need to know maths for it? If I do not have any mathematical background, can I still take that subject in my bracket or not?
It depends.
Yeah.
So, ideally, you should have some maths to be
Yeah.
able to survive because if you don't have any maths, if you don't have the prerequisite maths background, it becomes twice as difficult to pass the exam.
Yeah,
Because most of what is discussed in class is just mathematical ideas.
correct.
So basically, the maths you need for ML, it's stated on the website. If you check the website, so basically you need multivariate calculus and linear algebra
Yeah.
for ML1. Yeah. So those are the kind of things, kind of mathematical subjects you need to learn first before learning about ML. Not to say that you can't cope or you can't go through the course without those. You can, but it's going to be much more difficult for you to understand what the lecturer is saying if you don't have those prerequisites in your belt.
Correct. And I think in the initial classes, we also have these practice, like mathematical practice, like we solve some vector related things, matrix related problems
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
crash course class that we
Yeah,
used
so
to have.
essentially, the crash course was not designed to teach you the maths you need
Yeah,
to know.
yeah.
It was just like a wake up call, like, oh, this is the maths that you're going to be seeing.
Yeah, yeah.
If you can't take it, you better leave now before it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's correct. And I think it's good to have a mathematical background. But even if you do not have that, you can, I think, still practice it along with the course
Yeah.
because some of the maths is getting used in it. Even in the derivations that we used to do,
Yeah.
whether it's about ridge regression or you have to do the kernelized case,
Yeah.
still you need to know the derivations, I guess, and to understand that because professors sometimes also give the proofs.
Yeah.
But the thing is to understand, okay, how this is getting solved step
You
by
have
step.
to- yes,
You
yes,
need to know, like,
yes.
okay, from the first step to the second step, how did it went or how this matrix got changed or why can't I reverse it for some of the concepts. So I think
Yeah.
it's important.
So you need to know the maths. But I did have a friend that had to learn the maths on the fly.
Okay.
So what he did, maybe what you could also take that approach was he knew that, okay, next semester I'm going to take ML1.
Yeah.
And he checked the website that, okay, this is what I need to learn.
Yeah.
So he kind of did what you could call a crash course in the subject. So
Yeah.
learning linear algebra I think it used like 2 months to go through the subject at least.
Yeah.
And he passed the course. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's possible. You could actually still take the course and still pass it, but you would have to first of all prepare yourself, get some familiarity with linear algebra. But that's a difficult thing to do. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Correct.
It's always better to have the necessary prerequisites.
Correct.
Before you enter this subject.
And what is the material that you would recommend regarding, suppose if someone wants to go through this crash course, or any book that you want to recommend just to, practice these skills before taking the course or during the course?
Yeah, so for me, I learned linear algebra. I also learned linear algebra myself, technically.
Yeah.
Because from an engineering point of view, you just basically learn very little linear algebra.
Yeah.
Just so this is a system of equations,
Yeah.
Gaussian elimination and stuff like that. The thing you actually use in practice.
Yeah.
So, but you need to learn linear algebra from a holistic approach, a holistic view, to be able to understand
Yeah.
things in the course. Like, what are the different ways you could multiply, say, matrix and a vector?
Yeah.
One way is a linear combination of the columns of the matrix.
Yeah.
Another way is what everybody probably knows. You take a row of the matrix and
Yeah.
you multiply it with the column,
With
of,
the column.
of your vector.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I learned. I had to go to the MIT Open Courseware. So there is a course by Professor Gilbert Strang. So it's a kind of very popular course on linear algebra. It's very, very down to earth.
Yeah.
Very easy to understand.
Yeah.
You don't need to know anything but just normal algebra to follow through the course.
Okay. And is it on YouTube, right?
Yes, it's on YouTube.
So I think we can put that link in the description as well. That might help people to go through that course.
Yeah.
And I think one of the important point is that we are discussing this now. So the people who might plan to take it next summer semester, they still have this winter semester time, to work on these linear algebra skills or the other
and
mathematics.
Calculus, motivated calculus.
Yeah, because it's true. It's getting used. Even if you have to derivate,
Exactly.
you have to do the double derivation of a matrix as well. So
Exactly. So one major stuff in the class is there are some matrix, there are some vector forms.
Yeah.
Something like U transpose A U.
Yeah.
How do you take the derivative of that kind of function?
Yeah.
Right. So you also need to learn vector calculus.
Yeah.
And not even the vector calculus, like the way or motivate calculus, like the way you probably know it.
Yeah.
Like for me, motivate calculus for engineering was a bit different. It was similar but still different. So I still had to patch up that knowledge and get the needed knowledge elsewhere.
Correct.
So one possible choice for that is there's a matrix cookbook that's available for things like that. So you could either just go to a cookbook and just look at it. Oh, how do you take the derivative of this kind of expression?
Yeah.
And with time, if you practice a lot of questions, you get used to that answer. But if you want a better understanding of what's going on, you just don't want just to pick up values from the cookbook and just be hitting it up when you don't know what it is doing.
Yeah.
So one thing you could do is there's another course also on MIT, so you could check for Gilbert Strang course on matrix calculus. So that's actually what that's called. It's called matrix calculus. So how do you take derivatives of complicated stuff? So you don't need to watch the entire series. Just the first 2 videos will help you out.
Correct.
Because they also show how to take derivatives of stuff that are not even vectors or matrix functions.
Yeah.
So they take derivative of complicated objects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just the first 2 videos of that course will help you. And also, I'm recommending this course because it's so simple that an high school student can understand what's being done.
Yeah. Right.
So ideally, you start with the Gilbert Strang's course. You could go, depending on your speed, you could finish that within a month or 2.
Yeah.
Then you move over to the matrix calculus. Just the first 2 videos. That will help you out to be able to understand the ML1 course. And
Correct.
Once you do that, it becomes a breezer. So especially for the SVM part of the course, you'll be able to understand what is going on and stuff like that. Then maybe also optimization, but you can leave that out because the optimization you need for the course is actually covered in the course. So that's what they are
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
They're going to cover optimization in the course.
Correct.
Yeah.
And also regarding the derivatives, so derivative part is discussed for some of the topics, like we were explained in the board as well by the professor or by Mayank, TA.
Yeah.
But to get an understanding, and also professor, I remember mentioned this thing in the lecture that if you can derivate, then you are good with the exam.
exam,
But if you
exactly.
can't derivate, then I'm not sure if you're going to pass the exam. So I think maths is kind of important in machine learning. We have theoretical concepts which are discussed in this exam,
Yeah.
but I think maths also play a crucial role. One more thing, the exam was quite theoretical, but it was application based. Now to perform those applications, I think you need to know the maths or prove some things through mathematics.
Yeah. So the way the course was, the exam was
Yeah.
a bit more intuitive than mathematical. So they kind of checked your understanding of concepts, but the thing is that there's no way you would even understand those concepts if you've not learned the maths behind those concepts.
Yeah.
So I can remember there was a question on kernels in the exam whereby
Yeah.
they asked us, they gave us a kernel, and we were to actually to show that they gave us a function, and we showed that that function is not a kernel under given conditions. So if you didn't know the course in and out, know the different definitions of what the kernel is, because most people are used to the inner product definition of kernels. If you didn't know about the other ones that talk about the positive semi-definite condition
Correct. The matrix form, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know about that for the positive semi-definite criterion, you would probably not be able to answer that question.
Yeah, right.
It was not difficult, but also you needed to have to understand the theorems that were in the material. And I also you understand the theorems if you don't understand the maths behind the theorems.
Correct.
And so on like that.
So I think that is also important. Like he said that you need to know the understanding of several concepts, to understand the lectures. Now talking about the lectures, so our lectures used to happen, sometimes it was in one go or sometimes it was part by part. You can watch one of the video where I discussed about my first time experience attending machine learning, one lecture. So sometimes we used to have 15 minutes break in between of the lectures, and I think that's important as well.
Yes, that's a good one. So I think I enjoyed the fact that Professor Klopp kind of decided to split the lectures into two parts, having 15, because usually you're in a class and I think it's a 3 hours course. Imagine just running through the course of 3 hours. Most people looking would just be probably sleeping, dozing off in the class because too much taking. So it gives you the first half of the course. It gives you a 15 minutes break, stretch your leg, grab a cup of coffee, or do what you want. Then come back, and you are refreshed. Take the next bit. And he designed it. If you notice, he designed it in such a way that, say, after you started losing concentration, then you take your break. When you come back, the concept is discussing is another very important concept. So it puts it such a way that the important concepts are always when you are fresh.
Correct. And like I remember, for some of the topics, it used to happen. We used to discuss the linear approach first. Then after the break, we grab a coffee. Then we discuss the kernelized approach, and then the deep neural net. So you are ready again, for those concepts. And after that, we also have the exercise session on the same day. So I think it's important you have a good amount of breaks in between, and then you are ready for exercise sessions, because exercise sessions are also quite hands-on and sometimes used to happen in group discussion. And this used to happen sometimes that even the time of the exercise session was fixed, but it used to get stressed because I think when we start discussing concepts, then it takes time.
Yeah, it takes time to learn ML.
It takes time. So I think a good amount of time is required for this subject. So this was regarding the subject overview. Now, Samuel, how was your experience regarding this subject overall?
Okay, overall, if to rate the course, maybe over 10, I'll give it a 9. Over 10. Why am I giving it a 9? One, the course was very, very rudimentary. Like, it does what it says it does. Like, gives you the core fundamental concepts in ML. Nothing more. Like, just takes out the core flesh. What do you need to know to start in ML?
Correct.
Right. So another plus about the course was the assignments. So the assignments were carefully chosen, right? So and you also have programming assignment. That's actually very important. Right? Say, because a lot of times you might think you understand some theoretical concept, and when they ask you, okay, fine, you get the concept, could you write some application for it? Then you're stuck. But the course actually went side by side and said, okay, you need to know the concept, but you need to know how to apply the concept.
Correct,
So there's
correct.
a balance between application and theory.
Correct.
So that's what makes it beautiful. So at the end of the course, you're coming out with some practical PyTorch skills.
Correct.
Yeah, so that makes it a very, very interesting course.
Yeah, and those assignments gets evaluated as well by the TA, so you can always
Yeah,
review them.
yeah.
You can improve your mistakes if there are any.
Yeah.
And so I think for me as well, regarding the subject experience, it was so good to study like Professor Kloft taught
Yeah.
us about this course, and it's so interesting to have
Yeah.
this discussion with him. Lights are off. We'll turn that on once again, and then we'll connect.
Yeah.
So we are back with the lights.
Hello.
Now, okay. So we were at this point that I was saying that with Professor Kloft, it was quite interesting as well because he used to share, practical implications. So
Exactly.
for some of the
Yeah.
concepts like kernels or something, he used to call students, okay, imagine like you're doing this, or imagine a line, across the lecture room, and then
I think I still remember the examples Professor Klopp gave.
Yeah.
Like imagine you divide you into groups and
Yeah.
you guys have to first of all discuss
Yeah.
a concept.
Yeah.
Then after you discuss a concept, before he comes in and say, okay,
Yeah.
this is my own take on it.
Yeah.
So it makes the class is really interactive.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't like interacting with people, maybe you might not like it. But everybody likes interacting with people.
Yeah. So it was really interesting, and with the TA as well. Mayank also used to teach us some concepts in the exercise sessions, like some of the concepts that Professor Klopp said that can be discussed. So I think exercise sessions were also important. Apart from the lectures, you understand, you get the understanding of many equations or the concepts, how those work.
Yeah.
And sometimes you used to get the different approach as well. So maybe it's solved in one way in PPTs, but in the other way is discussed in exercise sessions.
Yes, that's true. Mayank used to cover a couple of approaches. So it's
Yeah.
like, this is one way of solving this problem.
Correct.
Or you could also solve it this way. So
Correct.
that was nice. So it allows you to, it doesn't like pin you down on one particular
Yeah.
format of solving it. So it
Correct.
gives you different varieties. So you go with the example is the kernels, right? So
Yeah.
some of those exercises about proving
Yeah,
kernels.
in a different way.
You could do it in either way. Either
Yeah.
you go through the semi-definite criteria, or
Yeah.
you go using the original definition that was
Yeah.
given.
Inner product.
Yeah, inner product
Yeah.
definition. So depending on either case, you could always prove any of those exercises. So
Correct.
Mayank always tried his best to show us, okay,
Yeah.
you could do it this way, you could do it this way.
So it's
Whichever
always
works for you.
Yeah, so it's always good regarding that. So this was about our experience as well.
Yeah.
So now, Samuel, one of the last part or one of the most crucial part as well is regarding, like you mentioned, the tips and tricks for the exam.
Yeah.
So how can one person work for the exam, and what would you suggest for it?
Okay, so first of all, you'd have to attend lectures regularly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And exercise sessions.
And exercise sessions.
Yeah.
Then once you've attended lectures and exercise sessions, then you're already, say, 70% prepared. Then you could go through past papers. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've discussed it on your channel before. There's a website. you
I've
could go
discussed
to.
in one of the video, Kai.
Yeah.
So in Kai,
Yeah.
you can watch that video as well.
Yes.
How you can find those previous year papers.
Yeah,
So you can find the
go
questions.
to Kai and look at previous year's question papers and
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
Practice as much. Then practicing will tell you where you have gaps in your personal understanding.
Yeah.
Then you go back to the lecture videos and lecture notes and try to fill in those gaps.
Yeah.
Then you continue again the questions till you find gaps again. You come back. What
Correct.
you don't want to do, what is really dangerous, is that a lot of students might think they understand the course but not, because what people do is they go to the past questions, they solve, like they memorize, maybe they have someone
Yeah.
solving for them,
Yeah.
they memorize the answers. Oh, okay, I see this question, this is probably the answer, this is how to solve this. So it might be dangerous because questions might change. You might not have the repetition of questions. So you want to understand the concept
Correct.
rather than overfitting yourself to the past
Nice
questions.
term. Nice term, overfitting. And
Yeah.
you might underfit as well if you don't look at many questions.
Exactly. You also don't want to underfit.
Yeah. So, but
You want to generalize.
yeah. So important point, like he mentioned, and I also want to mention this point, that in the exam, so when I saw the VRS exam as a reference, for some of the exams, even with the previous year questions, the question might change, but you get the idea of the pattern. But with ML, the pattern might also change. Like this
Exactly.
time, it was not like, okay, these many questions are from theory, so they will ask definition, these many questions are mathematical.
Yeah.
It might get mixed. The pattern get mixed. This time also I found some of the questions, you might feel that the pattern is different from the previous year papers.
Exactly.
So it's not like always 5 questions or, they always like this.
They can switch
yeah,
it off.
they can switch it off. Even in our paper, there were many questions which had subparts.
Sometimes I begin to think maybe what they do is that they build some kind of ML model for past questions, and they
Yeah.
try to predict what their question is going to be, and they don't set what they predict. That's what probably what I think they do. So it's going to be difficult to predict what the questions are
Yeah.
going to be in an ML exam. Think
Yeah.
about that.
Even if you use the ensemble method. So
It's going to be hard for you to predict that.
yeah. So I think this is the thing, that with this exam, if you understand the concepts and the maths, then even if they change the question or ask you in some other way, you can
Exactly.
still
You will be
try
able
to
to
answer
answer.
it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you suppose even memorize the pattern or feel that, okay, in this way certain question comes, like for our exams, there were many questions which were based on diagrams. For
Yeah.
the first time, I think I saw neural net question along with the diagram.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. Yes, yes,
and
yes.
with the 3 input neurons.
Yes,
So
yes. So I think that was like a new question in terms of like the
Yeah.
format of the past questions.
Yeah.
So that
So-
was
so-
yeah.
so
you
this
need
can
to
change.
understand neural networks to be able
Yeah.
to say, okay, yeah, I can still answer this question because
Yeah.
I've read about neural networks and I understand
Correct.
how it works.
Correct.
Yeah.
And one of the more point that I want to mention is that sometimes people might think or see everyone's approach is different. This is just our recommendation and our
Yes.
experience.
Yeah.
But sometimes people think, okay, maybe I will watch the recordings, but I would recommend is to go to the lectures and go to the exercise sessions in person.
Very true. Very
Even if you think that, okay, I can watch the recordings, there are recordings, I'll stay at my home. Why should I come in the lecture room, to attend the live lecture? They are the same content. But the thing is, the in-presence lecture have a different, I think, approach and meaning
Yeah.
in themselves, even if the topic is same.
Yeah, so there's something, I don't know about the rest, but for me, there's something about an in-class experience, right? So the recordings are there for the course, and sometimes they are old recordings.
Yeah.
That's one. So
Yeah.
there might be something new that
Yeah.
the lecturer talks about in class.
Yeah.
And sometimes there might be some additional explanations
Yeah.
that are in class
Yeah.
that you miss out on.
Correct.
Right? So the recordings are just there for like reference, like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe you are revising and you just want to check out something real quick.
Yeah.
Those are what the recordings are for.
Yeah.
So it's always good to go to class and sit in lectures and
Correct.
get the experience. And it even helps you remember, because if you're thinking about something in exam, oh, what's this concept for?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember Professor Clough was given an illustration about
Yeah.
what it means. Then you'll be able to remember. But if it's just you watching the videos, like, okay, the videos are really good though, but it's not as good as
The
an
live
in-class-
lecture.
The live lecture. So always try to be present.
Yeah,
live.
and that's the thing also what I felt was when I was going through the script, which was uploaded in 2023,
Yeah.
and then, I went through the PPTs, then I saw that suppose sometimes the PPTs get changed in terms of diagrams, in
Yeah.
terms of some equations are getting corrected, maybe they were not corrected before. The thing is, when you go through, like I understood some of the concepts, because it was so very well explained through diagrams.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think PPTs, also change because you're watching the PPTs in the recording, which are of previous year. So that material also gets updated. Some of the mistakes maybe in the equations also gets updated,
yeah.
and you can interact with the professor. Like even if you ask your doubt, he tries to clarify and discuss
Yes.
at the very time, and then you can clarify again during the exercise
Then
sessions.
another good thing about lectures that people probably underrate is the questions that get asked in lectures.
Yeah,
Right, you don't get that in a video session.
Yeah.
So the lecturer tries his best to always
yeah,
explain as easy as possible. But
Correct.
in class, you get a variety of questions. I personally do learn a lot from those questions in class. So someone might ask the lecturer, "What is this?" or "What does that mean?" So it goes further and explains, "Oh, this is what I mean by
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
This is what I mean by that." So if you don't come to class, you miss. Those are the part of the things, the key things
Yeah.
you tend to miss out.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And this is also one of the important points of Q&A sessions, that suppose people come here and ask their doubt. Some people, come, even if you sit in Q&A session, maybe someone else's doubt clarifies your own doubt.
Exactly.
So this might happen. Maybe you have some question in mind, and even in the lectures or Q&A session, you are present there, and maybe you get clarified with some of the concepts there. So it's always, good to go in person and attend those sessions, instead of maybe suppose someone's approach is that I can ask someone else to explain me, or someone else to, clarify.
Yeah.
You can clarify your doubts, but I think it's always good to attend the live experience of the lectures if
True.
you have time and you are taking this course.
It's always faster that way, because the
Yeah.
exercise session has a time limit, right? It's not, the exercise session is not designed to teach you the material
Yeah.
from scratch.
Yeah.
It assumes you've been in lecture, you've gone
Yeah.
through the lecture material,
Yeah.
and you have some extra doubt
Correct.
that you didn't think about in lecture, then you come and ask it.
Correct.
It's not designed to, oh, I'm new, I don't understand anything about this course.
Yeah.
Teach me. No, it's not going to work that way.
Yeah.
So it's designed in a different way. Then another thing that I probably say is, do not leave the reading for the exam till 1 week, 2 weeks before the exam.
Yeah.
That is very deadly for ML.
That's one of the recommendation I would also
Yeah,
suggest.
it's very, very deadly for ML.
Yeah.
So from the beginning of the semester, start reading like you're reading for an exam.
Yeah.
So once you break it down into chunks that way, they go through kernels. You make sure you understand kernels right there, and don't wait. Oh, I don't understand it now. Wait 5-6 weeks later on, then it might be too late.
Yeah.
So as you starting the lecture, they discuss a concept. We go back home, check the concept. Do I get this concept? Look for practice sessions. There are recommended books for the course. You could also check Bishop, which is a very, very good book.
Yeah.
So you could check questions from Bishop and say, okay, I've solved all the exercise questions we're given. Let me check Bishop for more questions. So you check for more questions, you might find gaps in your understanding. Right there and there, it's always better to trash it before they move to the next week. So take it, democratize your learning week by week, take it step by step. Every week you learn something new and you make sure you understand what you've learned.
Correct.
Waiting to exam, it's not the best. Some people do it and get away with it, but it's not the best because you're just overfitting.
Yeah.
You won't be able to recall what you've learned.
Yeah.
Or when you try to apply it in a different domain, you won't be able to learn to apply it then. So it's always better to learn in small bits, so that you know you are confident in the exam. So you won't be panicking. Oh, I have not done this, I have not done that. Yeah.
And I kind of agree with Samuel on this point, because some people might suggest that, okay, I did in 5 days, I did in 10 days. It's always good, to start from the starting point. When the lecture gets started, then you start preparing. This is our recommendation. But the thing is, you don't know how people who prepared in 5 or 10 days got away with it. You don't know the other side of the story.
Yeah.
So, it's always good that you know your story and you know that I'm preparing from the starting. If I have any doubts, I have these sessions planned, exercise sessions, lecture sessions. I can ask my doubts. Like he said, the lectures and exercises are linked. So sometimes used to happen, professor said, okay, this I taught in lecture, this extra thing I wrote it down. From here, Mayank will continue in exercise. So sometimes the things are linked. So it's always good to be present, or maybe some people follow this approach that they only come to exercise sessions. But I would recommend,
very bad.
But I would recommend that attending lecture and exercises together, then that helps.
Because the exam is not just about, oh, I give you this, calculate. It's not all calculations. There are questions that even before you can even start to calculate, you'd have to understand the concept of the question. So the questions are in that manner, like, if you don't even understand the concept, there's no even hope to start calculating whatever you want to calculate. Like the question in the exam on the neural network diagram. If you cannot even decode the diagram, get the formula out of the diagram, it's useless. You can't even continue down the questions they were given. So the lectures cover core concept and make it that you understand the core concept. The exercise reinforce those concepts by giving you more difficult questions to solve. But the best place to get the concept is from the lectures. So always try to attend the lectures.
Correct. And that's important because some of the times, suppose there is a derivation of maybe, as an example, feed forward or back propagation, derivation or algorithm is there. So sometimes even for a symbol, maybe you want to understand what delta is or what the other symbol means or how the chain rule is getting followed. So you can always ask this. Now, 1 or 2 days or 5 days before the exam, if you have these doubts, then that might create an issue.
Exactly. So, you're stuck. You're stuck in your learning.
And the questions which were asked, even with relation to the neural nets in the exam, you had to write these equations based on the diagram that was given. So you need to know the concept so that you can write the formula accordingly.
Exactly.
Or not sometimes not directly just mug up or learn the formula and because the diagram is different.
If you cram, like I said, if you overfit, which is basically cramming. They switch these questions and you're stuck in the exam. Like, wow, but I thought I read neural networks, but you cannot assign anything in neural networks. Oh, I thought I knew SVM. Like,
but
in SVM. So it's basically, in that case, I think most people that fail is because of these probably issues. If you check it, you probably check that there's a correlation between people failing and people not attending exercise session, people failing and people not coming to class. So the course is designed in a way that if you come to class, you pay attention, you come to exercise sessions, you do the exercises, you do the assignments, it's difficult to fail. That's just it.
Correct. And I think course is designed, and if you are taking this course and if you want to give the exam, then it's ideal or good to come to the lectures and exercise sessions, you know, the lectures that are happening, because then you get enough time even to make study groups, even to discuss with people your queries or your doubts. And then I think you are good to go with the exam, because as we said, the pattern might change. So I think we discussed all the points, Samuel,
Yes.
regarding the experience, the subject overview, the tips and tricks, and do attend the lecture and the exercise session. So I would like to thank, first of all, Samuel for sharing all these informations. Professor Cloft, who designed this course.
Very beautiful course.
Very some of the derivations, even you remember that identity matrix that,
Oh my
that
God.
was there.
There are some derivations I saw in the exercise session. I was like, I asked my young, who did this? Who wrote this? Mine was like, oh, that's Prof. Clought's technique. I was like, wow, this is really awesome.
Correct.
So you need to attend the course to see what I'm saying.
Correct. And also thanking to Mayank as well, who in detail discussed, not worrying much about time. He used to stress the sessions and conduct the discussion. So I would like to thank each and every person who's involved with Machine Learning Group or Machine Learning 1 course. If you want, you can also take Machine Learning 2. Samuel, I think you took that. So it's going to be interesting. And I think thanking everyone, I'll end this vlog now. Rest, like, comment, share, subscribe. It doesn't take much time. Bye bye. Ciao, ciao. Namaste. Chalo. See you in new day, new vlog. Also, you can go to different playlists and watch videos according to your interest. You can also go to RPTU Crisis Learning playlist. There the vlogs are in English. You can watch that as well whenever you get time. And Samuel will put the recommended videos link as well in the description, so that might help as well. Bye bye.